All right, everybody. Hey, we're trying to get Mario on. He is actually away in the Philippines, so I might have a little challenge on getting him on today. But to keep hold true while he's trying to get on, I do definitely want to go into what we're going to be doing today. So a lot of you guys have probably heard over the last several weeks and months, like probably going on for the last year, ever since AI really came into the whole picture. It's been pretty cool that. And here's Mario now. It's been pretty cool that everybody's kind of been hearing the term like vibe coding and kind of the entrance why we created Vibe Friday. So a lot of people get confused on what vibe coding is, and all that vibe coding is, and all that kind of Mario give his own description is basically just being able to use AI and a bunch of other different tools to help you code projects by that might normally take a very long time. Because back in the day, anytime you were doing any kind of coding, you would have to have like coding platforms. You would definitely have to have like a coding background. And it's just something that took a very long time to build because of all the things you had to connect and kind of build out. But now with apps like Bolt.new and also with apps like Lovable, it just becomes a whole different animal, and it makes it a whole lot easier to do things like that. So for instance, I'm not a coder. Mario's more of a coder than I am. So we're gonna give you basically two different perspectives. And now here he is. He's joined. I know it's super late night there, and again, everybody knows Mario at this point. But what we're going to be doing today is basically going to and kind of understanding both perspectives. But the perspective from a person who's a non-coder and my process, and then the perspective from Mario, who is a coder, a little bit more advanced than a lot of us out there, and his kind of perspective of what his vibe coding is. So I almost call mine like vibe no coding because I really don't do almost coding, and Mario's is like true vibe coding. But either way, you're going to get the perspective of both. So Mario, I don't kind of catch you up. I was kind of going over what vibe coding is, my definition anyway. And you kind of just heard the last spiel, right? There's no code vibe coding and there's code vibe coding. But what is your like kind of definition of vibe coding and what it is?
Yeah, man. So I think, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. Yeah, you're coming in good.
Perfect. So really my definition of vibe coding is leveraging frameworks to create something as a non-technical person. And vibe coding can also be as a technical person, leveraging AI solutions like Cursor or Bolt or Lovable to build something new and unique, but without any work.
Yeah, without you doing physically the coding.
Exactly. I think that's the key piece is like, it's not something that like I actually have to go in and develop the classes and put in the CSS and like leverage all these different technologies. And like, I have to do all this like complicated stuff. It's purely, I'm able to, and I actually presented on this today. It's purely that I'm able to articulate an idea from my creative brain and do so in a verbal manner that then is conveyed and created in code. Like that is at its core definition vibe coding. Like, and some people say it's like coding without a plan, coding without a PRD. There's still a lot of things that I think are really still vibe coding, but without getting super complex, it is at its core creating something from words, like creating an application from words.
Yeah, and it's what we're going to show you today might seem a little bit more advanced, but honestly, it's not. And there's some really cool workarounds too for a lot of people that don't want to really get into the coding aspect of it. I'm going to show you like simple ones that you can create that you can just literally copy the code and put it on your GHL account. Like something super simple. Like for instance, if I wanted to create like a mortgage calculator, I can go ahead and do that, give it to Bolt, and then just tell it to give me the CSS code or the actual JavaScript and CSS code to put it on my high level account. Or you can go out there and build a fully fledged app, but that takes a little bit more work. So let me kind of like talk to you through my process, and then Mario, who again is way better at this than I am, he'll go in because again he has that experience and that coding experience. he's able to talk the talk because he knows at least what's there and what's not, which makes it a little bit easier for him, right? So, for instance, let me share my screen, and Mario, I'll show you kind of like my like very simplistic, very easy process. And again, this is for like the true like non-coders. I have no idea how to code. I don't even know what coding is. This is what it's going to be about, right? So, you know, if this is all Chinese to you or like really doesn't understand, like it's okay, because we're going to go over it, right? So let's just talk about like my internal process. Let's make believe. Let's take that mortgage calculator example. As of now, I don't know how to build one, right? I have no experience in code. I have no idea what I'm doing. So basically, what I can do is I can write prompts using other AI to go ahead and design this, or I can go into an AI code builder like Bolt or Lovable or Cursor. Cursor is a little bit different because Cursor actually operates inside of a different software. And maybe Mario will cover that because I know he's a big fan of it. But I'll show you again. This is like completely no code, don't know what I'm doing kind of approach. And vibe coding is just like, okay, I have an idea, right? So my idea is I want to create a mortgage calculator. So I'll go to Claude because Claude understands coding. I can go to Grok. I can go to any one of these, and we'll use both to kind of give you the idea. It might actually even give me the code automatically without me having to go to bolt.new, which still counts, all right? So that's what we'll do to just kind of give you an idea of how this is going to work. So I'm going to say, please help me create a mortgage calculator for my website. Make it look fresh and clean, but vibrant in colors. Okay, whatever. And that's all. I'm not really going to give it much more than that. I'm going to make it super simple because, again, the average user that's out there, this is probably as far as your knowledge is going to go. And you just want to have a calculator on your page. Maybe it's a revenue calculator, or maybe it's like the space your dog needs to live. I mean, honestly, it could be literally about anything you want, but you don't have to think about it. You just kind of want to go ahead and figure it out. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it in Claude. This is Claude AI. You can use ChatGPT. You can use Gemini. You can use Grok. All of them will do the same thing. And then we'll show Bolt and how, it creates there, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to highlight this same request. I'm going to put it in here. And this is the paid version of Grok, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and let that launch, and I'm going to go ahead and let that launch. The only reason why I really like Claude or even ChatGPT and Gemini right now is because it creates what's called a canvas that allows you to basically see what you're trying to create. Now, the only thing I'm telling you right now that I'm already looking at that's not going to make this work is that it's adding something called React, and you can't import React when you're bringing this to a web page. So I'm going to say, hey, right, I really need this in JavaScript or CSS, because JavaScript and CSS is something like, let's say, High Level can read, WordPress can read, and they have something called a code block element that will allow you to add this, right? So again, that's just me from knowing and doing this a couple times. So if you see anything like import React, this won't work. Now, it looks great, right? Look, it automatically came up with one, but I'm going to say something, and you can, again, copy this and then figure it out for yourselves and come back later to it. I'm going to say, this is going to be a code element on a web page. Please remove React and do this all in JavaScript, which is what most code blocks can read, and CSS. I am using High Level. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. I didn't even spell things right. That's all right. Now, you see this here? Now, Grok did it in a really decent way, and it started with not importing anything. So the odds of this one working are incredibly high, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this right here, and I'm going to open up an instance of High Level. All right, anybody that has a white level version, you guys can do this. Now, again, this is the super beginner-friendly way of like getting into vibe coding, getting your ideas out there, like Mario mentioned, and it's kind of developing it out, right? So I'm just going to go to a test account. All right. And all I'm going to do is put this in a code element so we can see it. And then I would build the design around it. Like I put my logo on it, I put maybe like a footer. and now I have an active like lead magnet that people can either sign up for. I can charge like maybe like $10 to use it, and then people get access to it on the thank you page. There's a lot of really cool things I can do that, again, you don't have to be super brilliant to do this. You can make it like as easy as humanly possible. So I'll just click on this one. I'll click on this other one right here. And again, all I'm going to do is take this and put it into a little bit of a code element. Like for instance, this already has like all the lead magnets and form fills. And maybe I just want to add this extra thing in here. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a quick little section, full width, add a row, one column, add an element, and then go to code element. And what I'm going to do is come in here, open the code editor, and the same thing I just copied, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to hit save. All right, now I'm going to come over here, hit save, and let's see what this thing looked like. And we'll go back and we'll see what their version of this had it. Oh, something happened. All right. Let's see. Oh, it'll probably help if I save, right? Let's try that again. Saving is usually helpful. Make sure the code element has everything. Yep. And as you run into problems, again, this is why it's vibe coding. Vibe coding is meant that you are going to hit roadblocks, and you got to kind of like figure it out. How's your vibe coding? And be like, oh crap, this isn't working. What am I doing wrong? All right, so let's see if it added it. It's not adding it. So something is definitely afoot here.
So part of it is you have to remove
The head.
You have to remove like certain components out of that and kind of tweak it a little bit. Go ahead and recopy pasta, or just say this is going to be embedded on a standard page. Don't include any like head or foot elements.
I'm even going to say a standard code block in high level has parts of an existing page. All right. Now, again, troubleshooting in vibe coding is like what vibe coding is all about. And like I said, I have the wonderful expertise of like my beautiful Vanna White Mario. So for anybody that doesn't know who Vanna White was, then I'm aging myself here. So awesome. All right. And it's going to do the whole thing. And weird. Don't know why it's having an issue, but then we're also going to do it in bold so you guys can kind of see it.
There you go. So now it's restructuring the code as I would recommend restructuring it.
Yeah. And this one right here. I think this is the code.
Nope. So I would say redo this as an artifact.
Awesome. See, again, words like artifact. What is artifact? I don't even know what that means, Mario.
So an artifact is, yeah, this is what you want. So what you're going to do is,
we got to keep reminding it that it's going to be embedded. So embedded. Try that, and let's see what's going on here. It's still thinking. I think artifact might have broke it. So there we go. Yeah. Now notice how it's starting with style, and it's going to go probably into. You're going to see some other things. And again, you would only know this if you're doing this a few times out, so you know whether or not you're even beginning the right way. Now, even like words like artifact, didn't even know what an artifact is. But again, it looks like it's being a little trapped in there, but at least we're going to get something hopefully working in this. Now, after it does that, it creates what's called a div class, which means it's going to now be in a little container, which is what we needed to do from the get-go. I should have specified a little bit more, but I also wanted you to see how we troubleshoot when we're doing a vibe code, right? So when you're doing this kind of vibe coding thing, remember, it's idea to fruition. That's all it honestly is. And you working through it is the way to do it. Now, the reason why this is very different is back in the day, if I had to figure out what was wrong with my code, I would literally be completely on my own, would have to search like forums and code blocks and everything else. But now the fact that I actually have this particular thing to kind of help me out, like all these different AIs, I'm able to do this in a very easy way to go through it. Now it's having a hard time printing it because we're using this. So now let's go back to the page, Control A, Control V. We're going to hit save. We're going to hit save again. And then I'm going to show you some other things that I've learned along the way that sometimes would make this not work. So I'm going to come in here and hopefully we'll see the mortgage calculator right where it is. Right. And it should be functional, right? So 500,000, interest rate of 6.1, term is 20.
Whoa, that's a high interest rate.
But look what it did, right? No, that would be ridiculous, right? But you guys see it. Now I have a code calculator on the page. It's that simple, guys. So again, this is what I mean by vibe coding. We literally created something from a fruition, like from an idea to fruition. And the fruition is here. Like we created the calculator. We're not coders. We did some vibe coding. This is vibe coding at its essence at the beginner or absolute beginner level, right? Now we can get a little bit more advanced. I'll kind of like turn it over to Mario. Mario, like walk us through your vibe coding. Give us an example so then people can see like a little bit more of the advanced version of this so you guys can see it. Now, as always, I always have trouble with this coding thing. There we go. Awesome. There you go.
So let's try us some Lovable, which should be hopefully working. As you can see, my screen's in Thai, so hopefully I don't have any issues. But I've actually got a couple projects under my belt. In here, you can see Patient Portal, Connection Wizard, Billable Tracker, Card Maker, all sorts of things. So let's talk about using frameworks like Lovable, or we may have to switch.
You know what's funny, Mario? Something that, like, let's say High Level, which is our favorite tool, really lacks. They don't have a directory. Like, you know, if I want to have like a website with a directory of doctors or a website with a directory of like restaurants or it doesn't have the ability of like actually having an easy to make and customizable directory that we can embed anywhere. So he's going to type it out. And, Lee asked, what are some simple projects that a new person could start with when getting started with vibe coding? So that's a really good question. So one, you saw like simple calculators are always great because and just getting them on a page and understanding what it takes to get them on the page. The second thing that you might want to do is then actually develop a web app. A web app is something that exists on a website, right? That people would have to log into, perhaps pay a little bit of money, and then they would get access to the web app. Or it's a free web app that's like a lead magnet, and people get in and they get access to it, right? Doing something like that. Then phone apps become a little bit more difficult because it is you do have to have money because you have to register the phone app. You have to register with Apple, with Google, and the whatever app store that they have there. And then you also have to create different integrations for the app itself on the phone. So I think those are the levers of progression. Also, there's a real big gap in the center of coding is that one is to deploy it and actually make it live is like a little bit on the harder scale. Second is integrating a Supabase or a database. If you're a complete brand new beginner and you don't understand how to do that, that becomes a little bit of a learning curve. And then the other one is putting in a payment option after you figure out the database and getting it live, right? So deploy, database, payment option, then you got full-fledged phone app or full-fledged web app. So those are kind of like the different structures, and you can kind of keep building it as you see fit. Now, while Mario, your picture went up, you intended that. But he wrote, I want to create a directory tool that I can embed on any standard HTML page without using import community or anything that would impact the display on the standard HTML page. The tool will need to display some doctors and their information like images, name, description, location, and a button to subscribe. So that's perfectly awesome. Now, what's happening here, excuse my voice is going. What's happening here is that Lovable is now writing the code.
Yeah, and what it's doing is it's not just writing the code, it's actually generating previews and everything as well. So this is, Kara asked, what can I do? Or Lee asked, what can I do? That's kind of more of a general project idea. And there are so many different project ideas and things that you can do with these different platforms. And this is just one of them, is creating a directory tool, like Nuno said. So it's generating all of those previews. I mean, really the sky's the limit. The key to vibe coding is really just to talk to it, right? To describe it, to talk to it, to tell it, oh, tweak this, tweak that, make this change here, make this change there. There are just so many different small kind of nuanced pieces, but it's all really just a matter of create what I want at the end of the day.
Yeah, now sometimes these things take a while. So we might be waiting a little bit in order to do it. But again, this is where you would put on some headsets, some phone, like listen to some music and just chill out while you're building this out. Or if you're pretty nerdy like me and Mario, you would just create another instance and start vibe coding something else while the other thing is vibe coding. So you can put a whole bunch of different things. Now, again, if you don't really understand the language and you don't know how to put this together, you could always use AI to like kind of like spill out your idea, have AI come up with a prompt that you can use inside a Lovable or Bolt or Replit. I mean, there's so many of them that you can do that make it a whole lot easier. So it makes it really easy for everybody to kind of go through. But it's important for you all to understand that it really honestly depends on what you're doing. And now look, as you can see, it now finally, kind of portrayed. It's got some fake doctors in there. So walk us through. What do you see here, Mario?
Yeah, so let's actually look at the code itself. So we go ahead and hit this code block, and it's spun up all these different pieces to it. Now we need to, for Lovable specifically, we need to kind of slim down some of what it's presenting. But just looking at this preview, it did exactly what we asked it to do.
Yeah, it's even got a toggle in there and everything else. Look, searching.
Like
so, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it even, like, you can ask it to, okay, now I want, when I click on the subscribe button, for it to for it to open a contact form that shows email, name, and phone to submit to the doctor, and it should have a HIPAA compliance banner.
And also, I think the next one that we want to do is make this where it gives us the embed code that we can embed anywhere on any other website. So maybe it automatically gives us a button or a switch that allows us to share this or embed it somewhere. And now we give it the option of it to do that. I think it could do that also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I don't know if you guys notice, and I don't know if you kind of want to like go over this because, again, you might have a little bit more experience. If you guys see on Mario's screen, a little bit to the right, there's a screen zap looking thing that is Supabase. Supabase is a database. Now, the reason that's important is if you were really trying to create any kind of app, whether it's an app that somebody's got to log into, whether it's an app that is going to store information like all these doctors and everything else, it's going to be very important that you have some kind of database connected. Now, databases become a little bit more challenging if you really don't know what you're doing because, one, you have to understand how the database is structured, and you also have to understand how to build it. Now, believe it or not, Lovable does a pretty good job, and so does Bolt, of helping you along with that. But just like learn that at some point in time, it's going to give you a little bit of a learning curve where it's just going to be hard to figure that out. It's just because it's like it's a different kind of software and understanding, so it does take a little bit of time. So awesome! Look at that. It's now showing the ability of where you can contact the person based on that, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, now we say, now I want to embed this anywhere. How would I do that? Give me the code.
Cool. And now we're adding those two features. And we'll try to connect. Do you think it's worth connecting a database just so then they can see like what's involved and how to ask the proper way? Because I always figured with like Lovable or Bolt, Mario, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. If you don't give it the right instructions of connecting the database the right way, I always think it sends you down the wrong path and the connections never work. And, Superbase it just becomes a nightmare afterwards. Mario, if you're there, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, so I'm just waiting 1 second, and then I will connect Superbase. We'll just give it a second here. So what it's doing right now is it's creating an embeddable widget. And this embeddable widget is going to be able to be used pretty much anywhere. So it's going to build the files and then give you the ability to embed it. But yeah, so we connect Superbase, and it's really just a database of information that you could do things like store. Let's say you wanted to store the contacts information when they submit it. That would be something you could store in Superbase. Let's say that you wanted to have a database of the doctors and you wanted to interface that with high level and custom objects. You could do it that way. There's a number of different things you can do with platforms like Superbase and Netlify. And Netlify is a serverless application you can actually use to publish the information. So everything that you see here, we can just hit publish in the top right corner, and we can actually publish this entire directory super easily.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're just going to give it a second here. Do 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 do. And I'm just going to log in with GitHub on Bolt so we can look at some Bolt stuff. All right. So now we have almost an embeddable widget. Still working. There we go. So now all we'd have to do is actually just take this this lovable embed. We can publish this under publish, and we can actually just embed this lovable app, and it will create this doctor tool. So I need to copy this. I need to copy this. And let me jump into high level really quick. And I'll get to a page that I can share.
But again, the whole point of what we're trying to show you guys is like you can do this at any level, right? So I showed you the super beginner level. Start with calculators. Start with like very simple apps that can do things on screen. Do it as HTML and JavaScript code when you're having that conversation. So then you can immediately see the results of your labor, right? Then as you get more advanced, try to create something called a web app. A web app is like you log into a site and it does the things that you want the site to do, and you're operating all in there. Then, like I said, in that web app space, the two levels of like kind of getting harder is creating a database and a login. So by creating a login for members or people to a place to sign up, then it's actually creating a database where you store a bunch of things. Then it's also at the same time that you go in and you basically are then turning that into, okay, well, now I want to collect money. then you add your payment processor. So that's the way in the order that I would recommend learning vibe coding and trying to do this. And this is something you definitely want to do as you're chilling out, like on a weekend when you have like 2 hours to spare, an hour to spare. Vibe coding is exactly what it is. You vibe it out, you chill, you communicate with the AI, and that's what makes it different. Again, all right, I don't know what this like some possible hater on here. I could care less. So with that being said, you have it where you all can go ahead and you can try to figure this out. And you always can go back to an app like High Level and basically put it inside of there to make it super easy for you guys to kind of go in there and do whatever you need to do. So basic thing is you set it up, whatever. So for whatever, business you guys have, you could create lead magnets. You could create, pretty much anything that you want to do to get this up and going, and just have a lot of fun with it, because that's what it's going to be about as you're building all this out. But again, you see how easy it is. We were able to embed this whole thing inside of a High Level page. So if you're building something like has directories, or you're part of some kind of organization, you want to list all your members, you could do it all the way. You know what I'm saying? So it just gives you another way in order to do that.
Yeah, so we've taken this embed function and put it directly inside of High Level, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, this is something that literally does not exist inside. I did this embed function. I click on this, it pulls up that HIPAA form. Absolutely
cool.
And so that's vibe coding, fools. Like, I mean, it's so easy to build whatever you want. And all we did was just embed it in High Level. I mean, you can make literally anything, and I had a really good, I had a really great conversation about this today with a number of people. And we were talking about different ways to, my video wasn't, my camera crashed. Sorry about that, guys. We were talking about different things in the AI space and really how AI impacts us as a whole, right? And so think about it this way. Like, I, at one point, was a not very technical person. Nuno, you and I now, we're very technical people. And there are so many people here who may not be very technical, but you have this amazing way, just right. You talk about sky and the color, and you talk about how it's this beautiful blue, and you talk about all these different things that are descriptive terms, right? But you can't go make the sky. You can't go produce something that is a beautiful app, because let's face it, like, I may be a developer. I'm not a master developer. I'm not a senior software dev. I can't go build some crazy application that has thousands of features and all these things from scratch. But what I can do is I can describe every feature in detail. I can talk about how I want a button here and I want it to pop up with the doctor's information, and I want it to pop up with a contact form, and I want it to do all these different things, right? And so we are good at articulating what we want and what we envision and what's in our brain. And vibe coding at the end of the day is just taking that information and feeding it to an AI, and the AI taking that and making us be able, it empowers us, right? And I think that's the key factor, is the empowerment of the everyday average Joe to build a multi-million-dollar application off of AI. And so Sam Altman and Elon Musk both have predicted that we will see in the next couple years the first billion-dollar company that
Straight
is
from
a solo, straight from AI. One person and AI create a billion-dollar company, and I think that's totally realistic.
No, it is, and I'll tell you something, right? So I've now developed a total of like 3 apps. I can't mention what they are because 2 are actually in production to be deployed live, meaning on Apple and on Google. I have a partner who's not on this call that we built together. I built that from an idea we literally had at 4:30 in the morning, joking around. That all of a sudden I literally got back to my desk after going from the gym and I said to the AI, I want this kind of app. This is what I want to build. This is my idea. Help me come up with all the things. What do I put into Bolt.new? What do I put into Lovable? And all I did was put it in there and I kept going back and forth. It took me about the entire day. And then from there, I then went and built like this app that now is straight in production. And I'm not a coder. I know tech because of like all the things you guys see us learning on us how to do. And we've got, and like Mario says, the more you do this, the more technical you overall become. Because even if you don't understand coding, everybody understands a pattern. Because what's going to happen is you're going to go in there and you're going to figure it out as you do it. So for instance, if I wanted an app that is going to, like I said, scrape websites and find me speaking gigs, awesome. I can just go in there, give it my idea, and it automatically starts creating it. For anybody here, does not matter what business you have. Imagine you work in a full-time job, right? And you've always had this idea, hey, I'm a big sneaker freak. I love sneakers all the way to do it. Like, I want to find a way that I can basically buy and find all the sneaker deals, but you want to create your own app that's private only to you. Well, in your spare time at night, you can go ahead and do that and just make it like put in the prompt, have AI help you develop the prompt, and then go in there and put it like in an app like Lovable or Bolt. These are all things that are going to help you in your AI coding experience to make vibe coding a little bit easier. So that's the way that you would do it based off on that. So if you create, this is a great question. If you create an opt-in using a Lovable app and build a database, how do you manage the database with GHL so that you can email and text those contacts? That is a great question. I've actually have done this. So I use GenSpark. If you guys want to see it, if you guys want to see how to basically create a website that has a form and a calendar, check out my GenSpark video of how to do that. Because what I did is I created a full website completely using AI. I took all that code and then I created a calendar and a form inside of High Level. And then what I did is I embedded the form and the calendar in the code using AI to help me. And now I build it all in there. So Maurice, what I was able to do is anybody that filled out that form automatically came into my High Level without me doing anything crazy. The other way to do it, which is super simple to do, is you can create a form inside the Lovable or Bolt app and then use a webhook to pass the information from the Lovable app to High Level. And that's actually not that hard to do because, for instance, if Mario wanted to create a form, actually, Mario, can you share your screen? We can do this really quickly. It's not hard at all. If we wanted to now, directory, have like a sign-in form, we'll have a sign-in form. And what we're going to do is we're going to send that sign-in form information directly to High Level for anybody that joins the directory per se, right? So all that, let me just add that screen real quick. I think it's in there. Yeah. Yeah, and whoever's my locator says we can, your brand is a moat. Yeah, correct. We can compete like never before. I don't understand what you mean by that, but like as far as compete with other people, you can, because you're going to be able to make apps just like everybody else is that has a full like development team. You couldn't do that like 3 years ago. You couldn't even do that 2 years ago, and now you can. So awesome, Mario. Yeah, go ahead if you want to. Okay, add a webhook functionality to preview the latest. There you go.
Yep. So
yeah, exactly. You could embed a form directly into Lovable. Perfect. Like we've done it before. We've actually taught it. And again, if you guys want to see how to do this on the website, full website, embed the forms, you can totally do it.
It just did it. It went ahead and added that functionality in there. So now when that form is submitted, it automatically fires that webhook into High Level.
Now, all we have to do on the High Level side is create the inbound webhook and replace it here. Can we just do that real quick, Mario, so everybody can kind of see it?
Yeah, sure.
So what this is going to do is, yeah, go ahead.
We just go into automation and we go in the automation, we would create an automation that is create workflow, start from scratch. We do the inbound webhook trigger. That inbound webhook trigger, we'd copy this, put this back in Lovable. We go ahead and save this. Whoops. So we publish this. And now we just wait for it to publish. So we're publishing. This is all good. So now we would just simply refresh this page. Waiting on that page to refresh. And that's really all we had to do. So we created that inbound webhook trigger inside of High Level. Now, once that page is refreshed, we come in here, put in our name, put in our information, send contact request, and then we got to troubleshoot it a little bit, right? So we had some issues that cropped up. Now we don't have for some unspecific reason, it's not submitting. So we hit send contact request. It says failed to send contact request. And we say, all right, perfect.
I think we're seeing the app screen, Mario. We're not seeing the other. But all he did was write it into, on the Lovable app, he's writing it into the interface so he can get a response from the actual team. That's all he did.
Now we look at the code. We go into the code specifically and find where that HTML embed is, contact form. We got to edit this. I'm going to save this.
And for anybody what is he doing? He's replacing because what Lovable did is just put a placeholder for the webhook. What he just did is he went in and replaced the actual webhook with the one that we got.
Contact request successfully sent.
Yeah, fantastic. What he did is just replace the webhook that now should be inside a High Level. Now, if we hit sample requests, there you go. There's all the information. How cool is that? So you don't have to redesign a website. If you guys are in High Level, you don't have to do anything kind of crazy. All you have to do is go in here, figure this part out, connect the different forms, and you don't even have to, the hard part of the database and the payment, you can get around that. So what a lot of people do, and that I see, they get very stuck on, let's say, the database or the sign-in or the payment integration into an actual app. What they'll do is they'll build the sales page, the order form inside a High Level, and then the second somebody pays, they put this app in a special link that would be on the thank you page, or it'll be in a membership area. And it gives you a quick little workaround to get your app launched immediately, so you don't have to wait for any of this stuff to have. So again, little nuances there. Don't think that you have to create this big massive thing to launch it and make money off of it. You can do this in stages, right? Create a calculator, play around, create a web app, play around, give it free as a lead magnet when somebody gives you their information on High Level, and then on the thank you page, send them to your web app. Embed the web app like you just saw Mario do, and publish it. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do as you're learning the progression of this. But the other cool thing is you can do this with High Level and combine them. You can do it with WordPress and a couple of other softwares. High Level, because we have the ability of webhooks and embedded forms and all of that, makes it super easy to work hand in hand with vibe coding of things that you're actually trying to launch to make money. I can't tell you the number of people we helped out building very simple calculators for their industries: insurance, car rentals, trips, money, vacations, all this kind of crazy stuff. And all they are is lead magnets to grow their audience, but they're using Lovable to create these apps directly on a page to give people access to them. Now, we've seen some people that are super advanced create literally phone applications, web applications that people are leveraging every day. Some are private, some are public, some are going out there. And I believe Lovable is already saying that there's people out there that use the Lovable app to create full apps that are making like millions of dollars. So if you go on the Lovable page itself, or even on the Bolt, you'll see a couple of people that have actually done that, where they've actually made money doing a lot of this stuff.
So this is so everybody goes to the doctor, right? Well, I hope you go to the doctor. But this is an example of an electronic medical record system that was built predominantly using Lovable and Bolt, and it is fully functional. In other words, like we are actively selling seats into this platform to be able to book appointments and create electronic medical records on behalf of patients, and doctors are actively using this. And this is just the preview, but this is something that was built using Lovable, Bolt, and Cursor. Like, that's freaking amazing. I mean, this is what people are paying tens of thousands of dollars for per month as a software, and it was built entirely using AI. And we admit that. Like, we have no shame in the fact that it was built using AI, because it means that we can develop faster, we can iterate faster, we can create faster than anybody else previously has ever been able to do, because we don't even need a whole team of developers to do it. We can do it all using AI, which is just absolutely freaking amazing.
It is, and anybody can do this, and that's the whole point that we're trying to get at. So if anything, just go out there. You don't have to get super crazy. You don't have to buy super expensive memberships or anything. Just go out there and like pick Bolt or Lovable. You don't need both unless you're crazy like Mario and I, that, you know, I have Cursor and Lovable, but we're actively doing this stuff on a day-to-day basis. If you just want to do something for one of your businesses, pick one and go for it. We're not affiliates. Like, I mean, knock your socks off. Really don't care which ones that you pick. And then if you already have high level, which most people that are listening to our channels do, you can use a combination of both to make it like launch and test it out with a couple of your people. So just really, really cool ways. Don't be intimidated by it. Anybody can do it. Literally take a weekend and just go at it, man. I'm telling you, a lot of people that have at least have tried this have not been disappointed, because the worst thing that you're going to do is not get anything out. But I got to be honest, you'll be impressed how quickly you can get an app working. I mean, I had like a 68-year-old man who was literally the most literate, like could not turn on a computer, literally create a prompt that made an app that literally, he was telling me, saved them over like 40 hours of work every week, because it was just a simple calculation that took a bunch of Excel sheets and a bunch of numbers. And all he wanted was an ability of using a very simple calculator with a very advanced formula where he could just plug in numbers and it gives him the answer. That's all he wanted. And I'm like, why don't you just do this? And we literally did it in 15 minutes. I showed him how to prompt. I showed him how to do all this. And then the AI figured out the calculation, because obviously it's AI and it knows that. And then he did the rest. So if a person like that can do it, that has no coding experience, and I'm not a coder, and I built already like 3 or 4 apps that are literally in production that we're about to launch. And Mario's got a couple of years ago. Obviously, even he's trying to tell you that you could be a one-man show and do this for yourself. So don't be intimidated by it. You know, be in the essence of what vibe coding is. And now you have the official definition, or at least our versions of the definition, and you can go out there and do this yourself. So don't be intimidated about it. All right. So hope you guys enjoyed Vibe Fridays again, and we'll see you in the next one.
Oh, look at my new tattoo.
And look at his new tattoo. Talk about commitment to his brand. It's absolutely amazing. Oh, you got two. Oh, you got two. Are they real legit tattoos? Real legit tattoos. Wow.
Oh yeah, they're real. They're real. They're not going anywhere.
Amazing.
Actually, wow. I got paid. I'm not going to show you my butt.
I was going to say, wherever this is going, I'm a little terrified. And you, that's hilarious. He became a walking billboard of all the people he supports. That's amazing.
I got paid for it. I made a joke to Gary Capps in Australia. I said, "Look, man, you pay me $1,500 and I'll get the tattoo." And he saw my post of me getting another tattoo, and then $1,500 showed up in my PayPal, and I told the tattoo artist, I said, "Hey,
that is absolutely amazing. That is." I personally do not recommend that.
I'll give you another $30. And he was like, "I'll take $30." And I was like, "Cool." So Gary paid me $1,500 for that tattoo cost me $30. Like, I think that's a good profit margin, right?
And you just became a walking billboard. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not condone these practices.
When in Thailand.
That's amazing. Locator asks, what happens when you have a flood of apps, software for virtually free, 4 million apps in the store? If they all, well, that's just it though. It won't be 4 million apps in the store, and I'll tell you why. The biggest problem that everybody has is nobody takes action, or else because it already exists. You can build these apps and go in all this. If you have absolutely no motivation to see it through, dude, like you have nothing to worry about. Like this Bolt and Lovable have been around for now close to probably almost 2 years, I would say, or a year, I should say, in between those. And are we flooded with 4 million apps? We're not, because you have to launch it, you have to get it approved. There's money component into launching, and there's the action of people not taking any action, and that's kind of what it is, though. So, cool. HTML embed code, not the responsive. Mm-hmm. So as long as you guys see that, all right. That guys, we do have to drop. We have to get to another call, both of us. So with that being said, enjoy your weekend. I hope we gave you something to do.